Okay, Charity, you gonna draw something cool today?
Yes, I'm so excited.
All right.
You know what? I already know what we want to talk about today.
Why, Charity? What are we gonna talk about today?
It's graduation day! Hi everyone, it's Charity.
And it's Sara.
And welcome to Bobbleheads on the Dash. And as you already know, it's graduation day, so we're going to talk about graduation and a few of our adventures in the educational world. But before we get into that, we wanted to wish well all the people that are graduating from kindergarten all the way up through grad school. You did it. Good job. We're super proud of you. And for those who are about to start their very first job, we're going to give you a well wish and say that may all your paychecks be big and bountiful, and may you no longer be paid in exposure.
Amen to that. Oh
yes.
my gosh.
Let's also manifest that for ourselves. I think we still need a little bit of that.
100%.
Yeah. So, but Sara, I have something for you as we sit here in our graduation caps and
is that what we're wearing?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
What is this on my head?
Them flat diamonds.
I have something for you. Here we go. I feel like I should.
Vintage.
A diploma!
Look at this.
A legitimate diploma that I did not just create 5 minutes ago.
Shh, we're supposed to know that we're graduates. Well, gee, let's see what my certification is now.
Yes.
All right.
You are now legally able to open it up and read.
Oh my goodness. We are now certified to like and subscribe.
Look at that. I should have written it in calligraphy so it could be like a legitimate diploma, but you know what? It's okay.
You know what? I'm going to cover your face here. You know what to do. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Ring the notification bell. You're already on YouTube, so you got that down. And of course, the random appendages of fingers here. Of course, we're all under We Harmon Sisters. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So do that now. Okay. It's
going to have to be a long 30 minutes. Your arm's going to get tired.
Throughout the whole commencement, I'm just going to hold that paper up. So now that we've officially
graduated,
we've officially graduated. I'm going to actually retie this, and so that way I can keep it for always and forever.
Oh, we could frame it.
Yeah, just like my real diploma.
Which is funny. Where is my diploma?
That's really an encouraging thing to say.
I have it somewhere. You know, you have those places where you're like, I'm going to keep this in a secure place so that it's not lost, it doesn't get damaged, and maybe I've hidden it so well that I got...
That was what my major was, just camouflage, apparently.
No, I think it's probably where my passport is and all of my other important papers. I will find it after this episode to prove that I did get a diploma.
Technically, I still have your passport, so I guess with that logic, that means I have your certificate, apparently.
Okay. Sara is the keeper of all of my important paperwork.
No, just the passport. I will specify with that one.
It's so funny wearing these hats because I feel like throughout this episode, I'm going to have to be really careful in how I talk to you. I'm going to have to slow... That's so creepy.
So Charity.
You got to do like Batman neck, like...
So we're animatronics. We're like Charity,
like the old Chuck E. Cheese, and we're like, but they always had like one eye open.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing whatever screen grabs are going to come out of that.
That looks so weird.
With graduation hats looking like we're malfunctioning.
Okay.
All right.
We gotta circle back. How did we get a diploma with giggle fits like this? But you know.
If that's the case, I'd be valedictorian of giggle fits.
So I have a special thing to show you. This is around my bobblehead. I still have my tassel. This was from high school. So our colors. Oh, it's a bit tangled. Oops. This is like the old iPod headphones that you used to keep in your pocket. This is a millennial joke for sure.
I was gonna say that's very
you pull
specific.
them out and like it would get super tangled. Okay, so this is my tassel from high school. Our colors were purple and gold. And I still have it, which is super cool. And we were talking right before the episode. I think I still have my college tassel somewhere. It's probably with my diploma. I have my college tassel somewhere. But this one, I keep it in my jewelry box. So, like, I guess it's my little box of special treasures. But I was like, oh, I've had this for so long. So, yes, this is my high school my high school tassel, and I'm gonna put it back with my bobblehead.
I really haven't a clue where my high school tassel is. However, I believe I do have my college one, but I wasn't able to find it in time for the episode, so maybe I'll...
So she didn't really graduate. Tassels or it didn't happen. Is
that how that goes?
Them's the rules.
If that's all it takes, a missing tassel, that's what Amazon is for.
Okay, so what is your official, like, on your college degree? Because I know we both say we majored in video production, but, like, what's your official college degree title?
Let's see. My major was in mass media communications with a focus in multimedia, which...
That sounds redundant.
It does. It's just a nice way of saying I can do video and cameras and stuff, and I spent thousands of dollars to say that.
I like a cheeseburger with a side of cheeseburger, please.
I would like a cheeseburger with an extra patty. I think that's kind of what that means. So it's still within the burger.
So you got a McDouble.
Yes. Not quite Big Mac, because that's like, you just keep building. So grad school is like, it's like a Big Mac on top of a Whopper, on top of a Quarter Pounder, on top of, I don't know, something else. Mm-hmm. And then you smash it all in, fit it in one box, and then you have to eat it all at once. What a terrible analogy. You know the fast food analogies for graduation?
My college education is a greasy, fast food, dripping bag.
Yeah, that about sums it up. All right, so what was your official major?
Mine, I have a disclaimer for this one. Technically, I was a double major, but I wasn't told that I was a double major until like literally after graduation. Because they were like, "Oh, you took all the same classes the double majors did." So technically, I majored both in video and audio production, but my diploma will say graduate or Bachelor of Communication Arts.
Are you sure about that? You're hesitating.
No, I'm picturing it in my head. Okay. Bachelor of Communication Arts with the emphasis in audio radio production. But which is funny because, you know, I had visions of grandeur of like doing more audio work. Mm-hmm. I've done more video work in my career than I have with audio, which I love video production for sure. But there's something about editing audio that's like, it's very soothing. And I don't even know what to compare that to. Like, maybe for those who like to knit or crochet, like it's very calming and very like, you can kind of do it and pass the time. Ooh. But like if I can edit, you know, like a radio show or voiceover work, or when we used to do our scripted podcast for double stuff, like that type of stuff where it's strictly audio and I can like focus on, you know, sound effects and all that. Like I'm in my head, I'm like drooling right now. I love editing audio. It's one of my favorite things. But I love video production. I love storytelling. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she is a graphic designer. And, you know, she was like talking about how she knows just enough video production to kind of like, you know, put some clips together.
Get away with it.
Yeah, but she's like, I don't like doing it. It makes me itch, you know?
It makes you itch?
Which is so funny. But like, you know, but that's sort of the way I feel about graphic design though. Like, and I would never call myself a graphic designer. I could make a graphic, but I'm not a graphic designer because I don't like it.
Photoshop.
I don't like graphic design. Like, I only do it if absolutely necessary. So like we kind of switch, like the way she feels about graphic design, or the way I feel about graphic design, the way she feels about video, and vice versa. But yeah, I've done more video in my career than I have with audio. But you have to do audio with video production anyway. You can't really get away from it.
You can't have one without the other. Even though you totally can, because...
Oh, a silent movie?
Well, but you were talking about like radio and stuff. A lot of that is just strictly audio based, so it's not all video. See, for me, it's I guess it's kind of the opposite, because we both started doing this when we were about 12. Mm-hmm. So technically, we've been doing this long before we decided to make this a legitimate profession, and so. You know, I've always been good at art, and so I was kind of leaning more to the graphic or the illustration, or maybe kind of a mixture of both. And I kind of wanted to do that. What I really wanted to do was combine the two, because I was like, surely you have to have both. You have to have knowledge of graphic design and illustration, and you have to have knowledge of TV, you know, film, audio, whatever. You kind of have to learn all of that stuff. And I guess it depends on the school you go to. Maybe they're a little bit more. Maybe they've improved better now, but there was always a almost like a Romeo and Juliet thing. There was always a disconnect. It was like graphic designers are way over here, TV and film are way over there, and never the twain shall meet. And that was something that used to bug me because I wanted to be good at both, but I could only choose one. So I decided to focus more on the TV and film aspect versus the graphic design aspect. And so I figured out this be something I do on the side, or maybe the opportunity will present itself where I could kind of use that in college. So in terms of graphic design, I'm pretty much self-taught, but I'm able to utilize that. You have to utilize that in everything you're doing, especially if you're doing stuff like we are, where we're kind of a one-man show, really. So if we're doing all that. There's two people that can do a one-man show.
We're one big Harmon sister together. Lump us all together.
We're just a conglomerate. We usually say we're interchangeable anyway, so I guess with that logic, we are one and the same.
I will say, with your experience in with video and graphic design, I feel like when I was in college, there was a slight not a disconnect, but a slight separation with video production and theater. So there were certain classes that the theater students had that I wish I would have been able to take.
Yeah, that's been a thing as well.
Yeah, so I know the script writing class, when I had asked about that, they said, well, script writing is more it was more for theater because if you're writing a play or no. But I was like, well, if you're writing a movie script, that's still a script, but script writing, I think, was just for theater. And then there was makeup classes, but the makeup classes was just for theater makeup, which is totally different than like if you're at a news station or if you're doing movie makeup. Now, there's a little bit of a connection. So like if you're doing makeup for like a film and someone's gotten beat up or whatever, there's kind of a crossover, but still theater makeup is way, how would I describe that?
Well,
because it needs to be seen from a distance.
Yeah, so it's much more pronounced.
Yeah, a little more exaggerated, I think, for the stage, because I don't know what the difference is between the stage and the seats, but you're having to kind of overdo it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if you look at theater people close up, and like sometimes their makeup might be a bit overpowering if we were this connection to each other, but from the stage to your seat, you have to be able to see it. Versus movie camera, where the cameras are so high def now, you can like see inside their pores and everything. Your makeup's going to be a little different. So, but I think that's the difference. Had I gone to like an actual film school where we could have dived deep into some of those topics, I think that would have been a preference for me to learn a little more of the specifics. I would say I've learned a lot more outside of school than I think I did learning in.
Getting that money's worth is...
Well, there were there's a lot of things I didn't realize until after I got my diploma, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have learned that in school, But I get it. You can't learn everything. I think...
You can't learn everything, but there are some important points that I feel like...
I feel like I should have skipped, if I could have, I would have skipped like those first 2 years of gen eds, because really you've got 4 years of school. You spend like your last 2 years doing the stuff that you're going to do for whatever your career is. But like my first 2 years, I was taking algebra again, biology, I had to do an astronomy class, psychology, and like... It's
just an extension of high school. It just seems like you're going in the 13th grade instead of 12th grade. So I'm like, I'm doing the same stuff I did in high school. Yeah. It's just more expensive.
I think it's beneficial for those students who maybe they don't know what they want to study yet. Yeah. And, it kind of gives them like a buffet of like, oh, I'll take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then that kind of develops an interest.
For those that are hesitant,
Yeah, I've known what I've wanted to do for a pretty long while.
Yeah, same.
And especially after I went on tour and I was working with a production company and doing camera work and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I love this. I want to do it for, this is what I want to study. Yeah. Had I been able to spend 4 years doing film editing and camera work and all of that, I think that would have been more beneficial than sitting in another algebra class. But
I think another thing, and now that I'm a college professor, I feel like I am actually allowed to say this. So versus as a former student,
do you need to put like a flash of warning or a caution sign? Like,
oh, they can do whatever they want. I'm just gonna still speak my mind.
This does not represent the thoughts and ideas of the school that she is a college professor at. There we go.
Oh, okay.
I got you. I saved you by disclaimer.
Well, the good thing is that, you know, at least at the school I teach at, they at least introduce the idea of, you know, the business side of media, and I feel like
I would have liked to learn more about that too.
Yeah. Now, granted, it is the boring and tedious bit, but that is the important part, and because I feel like in a lot of schools we're taught how to make things look pretty, and that's all fine and good. But you can't make nothing look pretty if you're not allowed to show it in the first place. You know, why can't we use this well-known song? Well, because.
Yeah. You don't want your pretty things to be stolen because you didn't get a copywritten or whatever.
So you know, I was not taught that in school. We had talked to various professors about wanting to learn that kind of stuff. You know, we as a school or we as a class came and like we felt like we weren't really learning everything we wanted to do, and even though we weren't sure what all that entailed, we were hoping that as the professors, since they're the ones teaching us, they would and should know that, so that way we're not just coming out, you know, with our diploma in hand and still being very naive and ignorant to certain things. So there's a lot of stuff I've had to teach myself, yes, but just kind of, I mean, a lot of it is figuring out as you go. Kind of like what Charity's saying, you can't learn everything, but you gotta at least kind of get the fundamentals down. And I figure, especially if you're wanting to get, the rights to things and all that, that's an important fundamental, and I don't think that's going anywhere. And that's why
especially with AI and like how AI is kind of
that's a whole new thing that didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, we might have to have an episode on our thoughts on AI.
That's a whole other.
Let's not get on that soapbox just yet. But I mean, I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's very important. So that's why, to be honest, with most of the stuff that me and Charity do, like I said, this is the plus side with me having at least some basic knowledge of graphics and illustration, because I can make my own stuff. Or if I do use assets of other things, I always make sure that it's more like if it's not like public domain, or it's under the Creative Commons or something like that. So for graphics, music, all that kind of stuff, I try to, at least for now, until I'm able to afford getting the rights to certain things, I just kind of like to stay with the very cheap or free or public domain route. At least we're getting some help and some assets and stuff like that.
It works well for social media too. So you've been a marketing social media manager, and I don't know. Here's my slight complaint with social media is that it's very inconsistent if you're doing like organic posts, because you'll see people, they'll do a post and they'll have a well-known song in it because it's already within the database of, say, TikTok or Instagram, and then I'll go to do it and then I'll get flagged for it. I'm like, no, it's in there. Like, there's thousands of videos that are using the same song. That's the trend right now, but it's like, you're using copywritten, and I'm like, So sometimes
that's why I just stick with stock music.
Sometimes to avoid that, I'll use stock music as well. I do have one. I don't want to say it's a complaint. We've
been skirting around, but using the word complaint, so just call it a complaint.
It's a plea to colleges everywhere. So there we go. This is not specific to our schools. I went to 3 different schools. I had to transfer. This is not specific to the 4 schools sitting here at the table. This is not specific to our city. Just colleges in general. If you're going to offer a major as part of your curriculum, it needs to be up to date. You need to have whatever necessary equipment that major requires. And I would say go no older than maybe 3 to 5. 5 years is pushing it, Because I'm thinking this, like, there's certain majors where you have to stay up to date. So like nursing, right? Like before you go to med school, you have to do all your pre-stuff. Like if someone's going to major in something medical, you're not going to read a book from like 1965, right? Like, unless you're trying to learn the history and stuff, but like you need the most up-to-date medical practices, up-to-date medical laws of what you can and can't do for somebody, right? Like, you're not gonna, like, that's how you could get in trouble, right? Yeah. But like with media, for example, and I'm just saying that because that's the only one I've experienced, like, I mean, it would be helpful to use a camera that's at least no older than 5 to 8 years, I would say. Like that should be your sweet spot for cameras. Now, it would be cool to learn on old stuff because, sometimes we've both worked for companies who they have older equipment and they do everything analog, which is great, so thankfully I had that knowledge. However, I've worked and gone with companies that's like, hey, we got this such and such camera, and I'm like, I didn't even know that existed, So then when you're trying to pass yourself off as this like, oh, I got my diploma, the ink's not even dry yet, I have the most up-to-date information of how to do this, and then you're like, oh, what's that camera? You kind of feel a little stupid walking in there because you're like, oh, you mean you guys don't use cassette tapes anymore?
Yeah, and then they're so surprised, like, you haven't been using that for at least about 30 years, or so.
Because it's not just a hobby, it's not something cute that you learn in high school. If you're trying to take this information to then go and get a job to make money and support yourself, you need to walk into a company confident knowing that you can use whatever the new programs are that they have and whatever new equipment that they might have. If you have knowledge on something that they did back in 1980, well, that's not going to help you in 2025 unless the company you work for has equipment from 1980, So that's my plea. And not just in media, if you're majoring in education, hopefully you've got up-to-date practices on how to deal with students, how to deal with special needs kids, how to discipline the correct way, whatever that is. Like, make sure your stuff is up to date. Make sure you have teachers that have up-to-date information and practices. I will say I've run into people who have thoughts about things that are not the most helpful. That's probably the safest way I can say it. But that's just my plea. Like, look at your majors that you're offering, make sure stuff's up to date. And I think too, I'm harping on, this is my soapbox here. For people who are higher up, so like if you're a dean or, whatever the other things are, I feel like sometimes there might be a disconnect of maybe from like back when you were a student back in 2001 or whatever, like.
Or 1978.
Yeah, or whatever it is, like, you might have a disconnect of, oh, our information's fine, but really it's not. And like, not just with media, things change so fast. Like, you need to, every 2 to 3 years maybe, go back and look and see, are we still giving our students the best that we have to offer? Because college is expensive. You've got people going into debt, paying so much money, and you're giving them information that is 25 years old. Like, please don't do that to them.
Give them their money's worth.
Yeah, that's so hard. So I am making this plea on behalf of students everywhere and the generations of tomorrow who are soon to hopefully not be in too much debt, but please give them a good education. They're paying an arm and a leg and a couple eyeballs, So, okay, soapbox off.
I was going to say something similar, but with high school. Well, a lot of high schools are getting rid of their art-related programs, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's sad.
Because you want people to make the art and to make the media to promote, schools, businesses, and stuff, but yet you're not giving them the tools and the opportunities needed. You're focusing all on sports, and while sports is good, unless you're planning on getting full-on football or basketball scholarship, that's not going to take you very far.
Well, and how are you going to see the sports unless there's a media crew behind it that's broadcasting it?
Yeah.
And how are you going to see all the graphics that pop up at the bottom? Even if they're AI generated, they had to be imputed somehow. How are you going to know who's playing without the little logo flashing across the screen? Who designs the jerseys? Who designed the arena that the sports events are happening in?
The fact that it's playing on your television set in the first place.
Yeah. Who was the engineer that built the set? Or the designer?
Yeah. You can't get rid of us. How creepy is that? So
we're everywhere.
So because of that, and things are becoming more media related, and that's still a form of art. And even if you are doing more traditional art, how do we get into art in the first place? I watched, Bob Ross. I watched Charles Schultz on TV. So you can't avoid that. So stop getting rid of the art programs.
You would think that, okay, here, I said I was off the soapbox, but
no. If we could stack on top and be like, my soapbox is on top of Charity's soapbox.
No, but I mean, you would think there was a slight change after 2020 and the things that happened during that time when we were forced to stay at home.
Yeah.
And what did we do? We turned to the arts. We watched movies, we watched TV shows, which is an art form. We started up our hobbies that had been sitting on the back burner. So people were baking and trying out new recipes. People were knitting and crocheting. People were painting. People were building. You know, so all of those things take some sort of creativity within that activity. And you know, when things looked terrible and all hope was lost, what did we do? We got creative. Yeah. In our own creative way, we got creative, because people got creative in the weirdest ways of how we could interact with each other, how people could do social distancing but still have birthday parties. People were doing parades and doing homemade floats. You know, like that way they couldn't do a party and do ice cream and cake, but like they were doing stuff across the street. People were flying kites that they had built themselves. You know, so we are created to be creative. We are built for the arts. Yeah, and how did we know that? Someone had to record it. That's how we were able to see people do this kind of stuff. You know, we weren't just in some little echo chamber just in our houses. And because everyone has phones and all phones have cameras, regardless of the quality, someone had to record that, make tutorials, all that kind of stuff. And then of course things go viral. So it's everywhere. You can't avoid it anymore. Yeah, music, dance, everything. All of it. So at churches especially a lot of older churches that really didn't have a media program, they end up having to kind of do some kind of makeshift, you know, stuff, so that way you can do sermons on. So you can't avoid it. That was the funniest thing, and I will be very diplomatic about this. Diplomatic? No, certain churches and religious organizations, there's a long history, and I'm not making this up, there's a long history of them bumping heads with media. And the older you go into religious history, media was always a no-no. Like that's the devil's playground, you know. And all of a sudden, you know, people who had maintained those old-fashioned ideas about media, all of a sudden were like, oh, we need to go online, you know. And I guarantee you, as someone who has worked in the media for, I think, 15 plus years now, you know, I know there was a media person behind the scenes who has probably been harping on that for years. Like, hey, I told you so. Yeah, let's go online, let's do TV, let's do commercials, podcasts, whatever. And I know that they were constantly beaten down. And then all of a sudden, when you couldn't meet in person, they're like, hey, how about that media, you know? Yeah. So it is funny how minds were changed and stuff. But I think we learned the importance of it. Yeah. And that it's not just a cute little hobby, that it's not just something that's bad. You know, we see so many bad things on TV. Well, that's because bad things get screen time. That's because bad people do these things. But good people can do it too. Yeah, it's like if you don't like what you see online, if you don't like what you see on TV, change that and put good stuff out. Yeah. You know, at least to counterbalance it, you know. Yeah. Hopefully our contributions will lead the way to a mass exodus of the evil and a good entryway into the good. Is marching on. Why did we? And hopefully we will walk arm in arm doing the exact same thing, echoing each other. Until we're safe in Eddie's room. Remember Toy Story? And the flags waving behind. That's true, we do need like the Battle Hymn of the Republic or the Star Spangled Banner, and then Old Glory just descends, and we're like, yes. And as the sun sets, we bid a fond farewell to the old, to the outdated, and bring in the new innovation. And I approve this message because I'm wearing a graduation hat, and everything I say is 100% solid gold wall. His truth is marching on. I feel like on that note, we need to turn our tassels. Does that mean we've graduated? Yes, we have graduated. We can now hang our tassels on the left side. Yes. And on that note, happy graduation to all those who are graduating. We wish you well. Thanks for watching this episode with us today.